Hello all, welcome to Tech with SAS. In our previous video, we discussed that REST does not follow any rules, specifications, or guidelines, right? For example, when we develop the SOAP services, in SOAP, we have guidelines like we have to follow the create the visual contract and SOAP protocol, all those stuff, right? So, but in REST, some there's nothing like that. So, how REST is being defined and how it is being utilized, right? So, if you look closely at REST, REST is inspired from HTTP. So let's understand how REST and HTTP are related to each other. Whenever we request any web page over internet, right? So at that time, we use the HTTP protocol, and then what happens that we have the HTTP exchange happening between client and web service or the website. Okay, so at that time, whenever a client sends a request to the web service or website, it gives response in the HTTP format. That is having the text called as hypertext. So whatever protocol we are using here, it is HTTP, which is called as Hypertext Transfer Protocol. And when client and website or web service interact, that is called as a HTTP exchange. And the message which is exchanged, the structure of that message is basically in form of hypertext. And hypertext is basically, you can say, it's a structured form of text which has logical links to other links. And these links are called the hyperlinks. So I will not go in the whole context of hyperlink and hypertext, but the main idea here is that whatever exchange over HTTP is happening, that is happening over the HTTP text and hypertext, right? So now if you look at the REST, so how REST is inspired from HTTP. So whenever you suppose you want to visit any URL, like suppose there is a e-commerce website and you want to look up any order you have placed previously. So if you look at the URL of website, right, it has like myecomsite.com slash or lookup.do. So .do means that you are asking your website to do something for you, and then you provide order ID and you want to look up about order, right? So this is the format we normally use for website. But the REST is also using the similar format, but in REST we use the resource-based URI. So rather than asking a server to do something for you, you assume that some resource is already present on the server and you want to look up that. So if you see the resource-based URI, which is a practice in REST framework, here you have like slash order ID equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what you are trying to do here, the difference between what we do normally in website and this REST, that in websites we have the URLs which are having the action, right? But in REST, we use the resource-based URI. So always remember that while coding REST services, that you are interacting with resource, right? Not like some action. Maybe in the backend, server is performing some actions, but in URI, we don't show that. So this is the major similarity also with HTTP, and also a bit difference which distinguish like how REST work or define its URIs. So they're always a resource-based URI. And if you look about the various methods, right? So various HTTP methods which we have, which are popular, right? Like get request, get method of verb. So whenever you want to get some data or text from server, you use the get method. And if you want to send something back to server, we use the post method, right? So along with we have like few more like put and delete, and there are few more. I will cover them in my upcoming videos. But the point here is like you have the address as we defined in the previous slide. So you have an address, but what you want to do with the address? You want to get something, okay? Get me this data from this URI, right? Or maybe post some data back to the URI that server in the backend. So with address we define like resource based address we define in the REST. Then we also have to use some mechanism like we have these methods get, post, put, delete. That is basically you are saying, okay, go and do something, get something, post something with this address. So this also basically taken from HTTP only in the REST. Another important thing is that about the metadata. So okay, so you have your address is ready, and you also know okay which method or verb I have to use to get or put that message. Now, whenever you are sending a response back to client, so for example, in case of a website, the client is a human, right? So at that time, you have to define a very elegant website where in the human level format, a person can read the error messages, read the everything on the website itself. But in case of REST web services, the client is not a human. It's normally a piece of code, right? So piece of code doesn't need any kind of CSS, HTML based UI, but it needs some indicators. For example, a client has called a REST service, and it is success. So how you denote it? So for that, we send some extra information in response like we use the response headers. So suppose success is there, like you are able to do whatever you want to do. At that time, we pass response status code as 200 success. And for example, there is some issue happening at the server side. At that time, we pass the 500 server error. And most popular response code or source code is like 404 not found. You are trying to do something, find something on the server, but it is not available at the moment, right? So you get 404. So why we need error codes, right? So as I explained earlier, because the client is a machine code, right? It is a code and which want to know, okay, if I send a REST request, what happened to that? Whether that is successful, whether it is a failure, or it is like a not found, or maybe some there bunch of error codes will cover in my next videos, right? So idea here is the extra information which we are sending back to the client. It is important to it so that it can render the response, or maybe in the similarly it can construct some messages which are meaningful for the humans which are going to read the front-end website, right? Then, okay, now we have a client and we have a server and we have a service. So both have a talk in same language, right? If client understand XML, but a server just send in the JSON format, both cannot fulfill the purpose, right? So we define the content type. So both client and server can talk in the same language. For example, if we have a client which understands only XML, then a server must provide response in XML format. If a client need response in JSON, we have to use this application JSON in the headers, right? So content type is really crucial. And normally what happens that when we define the REST web services, our REST web service is capable of providing multiple response types. Maybe one response it can provide in text XML format, other in JSON format, because there's one web service, right? But client can be many, and some clients have limitations. Okay, they can't read JSON, you just want XML like that. So normally this is like a content negotiation which happens between client and the web service, and they can talk to each other with this extra information which we add in the response headers. So with this, I mean the purpose of this video was mostly to just touch base on the important topics, concepts between REST and HTTP, how they are similar and what are and how they are different. So with this, thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Please leave comments and all questions, and please subscribe. So I will be making next video on the URIs, like I defined URIs here, but I will talk about it in more detail or in depth in my next video. Thanks till then.